All right.
But they may not be working. Hang on. Hello, everybody. I don't know whether this is working. Hello? Hello? Can you hear us?
They can't talk back to us.
Yeah, they can. Okay, right. Awesome. Sorry, guys. Streamlabs is not telling me whether whether the audio is actually working, so that's good. Fantastic. Hope you're all
Is your
well.
audio working? Because mine keeps switching my mic off.
That's not good. Um, SW Lion says, we have our quarterly conference call coming up during the program, but I'm going to put my audio on mute so I can stay with you guys as long as possible. Appreciate you, man. Don't jeopardize your priorities. We don't need that. I was just saying to Ant, it's my last day at work tomorrow before moving on to a new place on Tuesday. So, it's torn. Feeling torn at the moment. It's an emotional time. How you doing, man?
Freezing.
Yeah.
The temperature has dropped vastly, and it has done nothing but rain the last 2 days up here. It's a good job I live on a hill and it all slopes down to the bottom. Otherwise, I'd probably be swimming about now. I'd be swimming at my sofa whilst I was doing this.
Oh, we're just going to chat for a little bit. Steve, I think it's going to be late, as is Ryan, so I think we'll just kind of start and then they can roll in as and when they're ready. But yeah, so we've got Dan on today from Big Blue UK and Ireland. I was on their show yesterday and that was really nice. They're a good bunch of lads. We actually spoke to them 2 years ago during the draft, but not last time out, not in April. So they've got 4 guys over there, and they've got a proper kind of dedicated producer, which is cool. But it's still very much a fan-driven show. So yeah, if any of you guys can think up of a name for this show, some sort of pun involving the Giants, would appreciate that. We've struggled to come up with something that doesn't sound entirely awful. Yeah,
No, I've not
I
come up with
love the study.
anything. I'm not having my reputation put out there. I've just not come up with anything. So
Yeah, I really am disappointed with myself for gnarly Barkley. It's not a
that's
thing.
terrible.
It's awful. Um, Something about Golladay.
No, we ain't insulting Kenny.
I love Kenny. You know I love Kenny, but he had 2 feckin' awful drops against Houston. I just watched the game last
One
week.
awful drop.
2.
Give over. That first one is not an awful drop.
It
It's a
is.
bad throw. No, it's not.
It's an awful drop.
If that's an awful throw, then I have a mullet.
I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever seen the back of your head. I don't
That
think I
has
have.
all sorts of bad connotations to that, Matt. Just let that one go. Just let that one go.
Oh no. Uh,
I don't have a hidden ponytail back there or anything like that.
the reverse Ronaldo, where you've just got a little.
Yeah. Bald head and a ponytail at the back.
Oh, that would be
God,
rough.
I'd incorporate the worst of every world doing that.
But that's the Gareth Bale, isn't it? Bold at the front, ponytail at the back.
Hey, look, I'm proud. I'm proud to be a chrome dome. Nothing to be ashamed of. It's those who try and hold on to their hair. It's just like, yeah, that's just sad. Just let it go.
Mm.
As,
Jeremy
as,
B
as
is in
Elsa
the
once said.
building, which is great. Good to see you. That fan man says, if that's a bad throw, Ant has a mullet is the name of the episode, which I think is quite good. It's better than what we have, which is fuck all. um, I mean, Chark and Aquara will not be back, so we can't do anything to do with that. Something about 3 in a row?
I see. I was trying to come up with like menage a trois puns and three's a crowd and stuff like that, and I just can't think of those.
Oh, this is so hard, and it's not even an important part of the show. Like, no one cares. I still can't come up with anything.
You say that, but I can't start my college show preps until I've got my title right.
Oh, really?
I physically can't. No.
Oh, I
But
always end with this at the last
usually
minute.
the first game we review from the weekend is about the team who I mention in the title. So I can't prep what games I'm going to talk about in more detail until I have my title. So title's the first thing I think of, and I get it out of the way, and I don't have to worry about it.
That's fair enough. Flyard Condor just said, trying to be quiet on set at the moment, but laugh so hard being bold myself.
Hey, there is nothing wrong with it. Chrome Dome, I mean, basically Lion's YouTube is just a lot of Chrome Dome. So you should be proud of it.
Yeah, there's not a
Mike
lot of
is,
people with hair.
Mike is, Lion's Rumble is, yeah, there's loads of Chrome Domes. Mark Oram is Mark Oram? Yeah, Oram is. Avery is. A lot of Chrome Domes knocking around.
Yeah, there really is.
I saw that very funny comment on the YouTube about you the other day, looking like you got bet, like you look. That comment on our YouTube video the other day saying you look like you have bedhead. That was quite funny.
I do have bedhead. I know I have bedhead, but that's kind of the look I'm going for. So.
What, scruff?
Yeah, that's me. That's me right here. I'm a scruffy bastard.
Her middle name, Matthew Scruff Turner.
Works for me. It's better than other nicknames I've had. That's not an invitation.
Colour me intrigued.
Oh. I think the worst one I just had was just being called Lank. I hate
that's boring. There's no ingenuity put into that name.
No. There's no ingenuity
I don't
put into
care
that.
how bad they sound, but as long as the ingenuity and the thought has been put into them, then I can appreciate that.
Yeah, but the thing is, it very quickly turns into wank, which is very frustrating. And then, yeah, it goes on from there. Jason Statham looks good, says Derek. It's true.
That's. Oh, right. Well, it just so happens that Kurt's another one from Lines on the Prowl. I am Jason Statham Jr. on the Lines on the Prowl.
Yeah.
Free for All Friday
and
group.
He's still the best pub quiz answer ever. Do you know why?
Born in Chesterfield, where I come from.
But that's not a reason for him to be a pub quiz answer, though. Do you know why he's the best pub quiz answer ever?
No.
Because he's the answer to the question, which high-profile Hollywood actor has dived for Britain in the Commonwealth Games?
Is it really? That's cool.
90... No, is it 88? 92? No. It's something in that sort of range, early 90s, late 80s. He was an Olympic or Commonwealth diver for Britain.
He was born 10 minutes away from where I live.
Yeah.
So.
Michael Lucci says, Statham saved somebody's life. You hear that story? I did not hear that story. I have no idea.
Chrome Domes are cool. What can I say? The Rock, cool. Stone Cold Steve Austin, cool. Kurt Angle, cool. Without bald Kurt Angle,
you suck.
Cool. Bald Kurt Angle was cool. Kurt Angle with hair was a douche. Back in his early WWF days, he became cool when he became bald.
Oh, there's something about Land of the Giants. Fly Odd Condors just said, fly in bounds of the Giants. And so there's something in that. I like Michael Lucci's 3 in a row, baby. Like, I just...
No.
No?
No.
No?
We appreciate the suggestion, but no.
Land of the Giants. I've never watched
I don't know. It's the weirdest thing in the world. But every time I see Fly Out Condor's name, I think of Flight of the Navigator. I don't know why. It's just because I see Fly Condor, and I don't know why I think of Flight of the Navigator. You know the old film? Like the really old one. It's one of the weirdest associations I have, but I think it's just because it's got Fly in his name. Because I keep thinking it's Flight of the Condors, but it's not.
No. No, it's not.
Flight of the Navigator. But I don't know why. It's just these weird little things you have. Hey, Steve. We're chatting the best Detroit Lions content as usual.
This seems like premium content. We should charge for this.
Yeah. We need a name for the show. And
we
it needs to be
the other day for it, so
something Giants related, something punny. Michael Lucci says Sarah Jessica Parker was smoking in that movie. I don't believe it. That must be a lie. Jessica Parker has never smoked in any movie, TV, or film ever.
If you'd have said Sarah Jessica Parker looked like a small horse, then I would have said,
I
fair
thought
enough.
that was where he was going. I thought he was about to say she can't smoke because she's a horse. I thought that was what he was going to say.
Oh, guys.
See, I think, there's so little content for such a big city. I mean, I'm trying to think of songs, but I can't get out of Fairy Tale in New York. There's gangs in New York. I don't know.
Call the episode Sucks in the City.
We can't call it that.
Well, the trouble is the Giants are 7-2 and we're on a 2-game win streak, so nothing sucks right now.
Something about the land of the Giants, but I don't think I can get.
Let's just call it nameless. Let's just not put hint to the fact that there is one.
Okay, we'll just run without a name. They will be Giants. They will be Giants. Yeah, that's fine. At least that's a band name. They will be Giants.
What's that?
They have several big songs. Biggest songs.
Oh God, this is Matt trying to teach us about culture. Yeah.
I think 90s indie band.
Matt's not seen The Godfather, so you can't teach us about culture, Matthew.
Did Birdhouse in Your Soul?
Say again.
Didn't they do the song Birdhouse in Your Soul?
Yes, they did. And
I thought it was a pun on the film There Will Be Blood or something like that. There Will Be Giants.
So they might be Giants did the song It's Not Istanbul, It's Constantinople. And you must know that song.
No.
Oh, for God's sake!
You can't tell anyone about any culturally related issues, Matthew. You don't watch or read much.
I like that one. That's good. Istanbul was Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul to Constantinople. Been a long time gone. Constantinople is Turkey.
If the chat could please stop, cozying up to Matt here, it would be appreciated.
Right. Istanbul, not Constantinople, is the name of this. Is the name. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. It's fine. It's fine.
Steve, if you want, I can drop us out and put us in a separate stream. We don't.
Bearing in mind, in the last episode I appeared on, someone in the chat called me a bender.
Oh, really? Yeah. What was the context for that?
The context of clearly they thought I looked like a bender. So they
is there a different meaning for bender
someone
over there?
floated down the chat, which was lovely.
Is there a different meaning over there for bender, or is it the same?
Oh man!
I didn't dig in any further than that.
Dig in.
Michael Lucci does actually come back up for you here, Steve. So Steve is clearly the only cool one on the stream. He has hair, no bedhead, and has a kick-ass hip-hop collection.
There you go.
He also asks, what is a bender?
Let's not.
It's two different things, and one of them is going on
alcohol.
It's
the robot from Futurama.
It is the robot from Futurama, but it's all. If you go on a bender, then you're having either a lot of alcohol or a lot of drugs, or a bender is also.
No, let's not.
What?
No, let's not. Let's leave it there.
All right. Okay. Ryan will come and join us when he's ready. We've got Big Blue's Dan coming on between 8 and 8:30, so I'll get through what I can, then we'll ask him the in-depth stuff, and then we'll go back to what we were talking about after he's gone. That cool?
Yeah.
All right.
How are you, Steve, anyhow? I feel like I've not seen you in a little while.
I was on for the Bears preview.
I don't know. Was I on for that? I might have been. Oh, yeah, I was. I don't know. I'm losing track.
Yeah. It's that time of year, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just very surreal at the moment, being back-to-back wins. It just all feels a little bit strange.
It does. It does. Right. Let's let's get the chatting in the actual recorded show, because it's good stuff. The premium content we could charge for this, as Steve said. Premium content.
Yeah, it was probably good, which this is not going to be in there, so.
Right, let's do it. You ready? Okay, here we go.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 158, Istanbul, not Constantinople. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside Steve and Ant, maybe joined by Ryan later on. How you doing, boys?
Just getting more obscure, these references. We're losing our co-audience.
Oh, yeah, no, it's tarnishing my reputation for coming up with good college football podcast titles. So, we need to get on this.
We're back-to-back NFL winners, 2 divisional wins. We're pumped.
We are above 500 in division.
Woohoo!
Surreal thing of surreal things is that the Rams draft pick is currently worth more than ours.
And will be worth more than ours down the stretch, all the way down. They're not getting it back above us now.
This sounds like a bet.
Brad Holmes is a genius.
Stafford is loyal and he's tanking for us. Love it. What a guy.
Stafford is tanking for us. But, I mean, if you wanted to bet on the Rams, you should have taken it when they were 3-4, not 3-6, because I said there'd be a 6-win team 2 weeks ago. There we go. Right.
Good night, Vienna.
You said Philly were going to be a Super Bowl team as well, and that's starting to unravel.
Yeah. And I had the feeling the Bills would be a Super Bowl team, and they might not make the playoffs. So, iffy times. Anyway, this is the Lions at Giants preview show. We're going to be joined by Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. Dan's going to be with us shortly, but just from some preamble to start off with, don't forget to join our Discord channel, great Lions community there. I'll pop the links in the live descriptions of YouTube and Twitch. Do come and join us there. Great community of people chatting all the way through game day, all the way through the week, and the off-season and all of our draft stuff will be in there too. So do come and join us for that. And the college football podcast was last night. What did he talk about?
A lot of shocks this week. I guess Kentucky losing to Vanderbilt, UConn becoming bowl eligible. A lot of upset going around at the moment. The college football playoffs, they're starting to take shape. The championship games are starting to take shape. There's only 2 weekends left of the season now until championship week. So yeah, college football's nearly done this season already, and it's nearly time to go into the tape previews for the draft. It all goes so quickly. So yeah, we chatted about that. We chatted about week 11, what happened there, had a little preview ahead to what's coming, and we did a rundown of all the conferences to let you know which teams are in the championship picture, which ones are not, etc. So it's all good fun. It's in 2 parts, unfortunately, because Streamlabs decided it wanted to crash on me halfway through my first stream, which was the busiest stream we'd ever had before. So you'll have to do it in 2 parts, but it's good stuff.
Excellent. I'll have to catch up with that because I haven't managed to get round to it yet, but it's always good stuff. And with the draft not that far away now, it's must-listen stuff. Don't forget to like and sub to the podcast as well. Appreciate you there. What's that?
Ryan put in the perfect title.
What did he say?
I know we didn't say we were going to do a Kenny one, but it's like, oh my God, they killed Kenny.
That is very good.
That would be so great.
Good.
Oh man, we missed it. We missed it, guys. Don't forget to join us on Lions Nation Unite. It's Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. You can find Micro Mike there, along with Lions on the Prowl and Dose of Dion, as well as Herman himself. Good place to be for Lions content. That's lionsnationunite.com. And we are a Twitch affiliate. That means if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you get month to month a free sub to use on anyone. Doesn't cost you a penny, and it gives something from Amazon to us or anyone else that you'd like to donate that to. So if you're not using it, please do. Always a good thing to do. Right, let's crack on with the news, and then we'll get on to the Lions Giants preview. First bit of news is that the Lions put in a waiver claim for defensive tackle Jerry Tillery, who was waived by the Chargers. He was claimed by, I think, was it 9 teams, and Vegas were rewarded him because they're in front of us in the waiver priority. Were any of you surprised that we had a flyer on him? Because I was kind of okay picking him up for the vet minimum, but picking up that 4th year of his rookie contract as a first rounder seemed like a heck of a lot of money for not very much player.
Well, I mean,
Very much about the player.
they've been trying to add to the D line all year, especially at D tackle. So it doesn't really surprise me. I guess they're still trying to take flyers there at the minute. I mean, it is a position we need a little bit more depth at. So yeah, it's meh. I'm kind of glad we didn't, but I can understand why they're still trying to see if they can find some depth and some fixes in there. So it's no harm, no foul in the end.
Glad that we didn't try and get Amari Rogers.
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
know. I don't know if he's not gone through
No,
process
he
yet.
has. He's gone to the Texans.
Oh, has he? Oh.
Yeah, he got awarded to the Texans. But yeah, there we go. I mean, Jerry Tillery, just to give a bit of background on him, he has the lowest PFF WAR of any defensive tackle since coming out of college, which is just staggering, really. He was a guy who had basically no run D but had pass rush upside, and then he got to the NFL and his pass rush upside disappeared. And he's his 3rd year was a slight resurgence, but he wasn't playing up to his contract value, and then got waived by the Chargers, who could do with D tackle help, and they got rid of him. I mean, at the end of the day, whoever's getting him is only getting him for half a season, and then you got to pay him or let him go anyway. So for me, it made no sense for the Lions as a team unlikely to go to the playoffs, however much we may dream, to take someone on a half-year rental. Like, it just made no sense when cap space is at a premium for us. Like, we weren't giving Demetrius Taylor a chance. Why would we give Jerry Tillery a chance? Just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, but it's not affecting your cap in the years going forward, is it? So
Well, but we've already had to restructure people to get under the cap to get to where we are now. So it has affected us by opening space. We only get that back if we keep the space and roll it on.
yeah, I don't know. I think no harm, no foul. We're a bit under at the minute, so you can get it in there if you want. I mean, you've got 8 games left, and we're getting quite healthy at the minute. So the IR injury shouldn't be costing us as much money, really. So, so I've no issue in them trying to see if they can find a flyer, take a fix there. You never know. We landed on Charles Harris. That worked. Some don't.
Yeah, it's very true. The Lions have opened the 21-day window to train and return from IR for DJ Chark and Romeo Okwara. They now can practice with the team, so Romeo practicing for the first time this season. They must be activated within 21 days. If they do not, they are shut down for the year. I think Chark, it was rumoured that he was ready to come back almost a couple of weeks ago when he spoke with a beat writer. But Romeo seemed to have come out of nowhere, and if he can actually play after that 21-day window expires, and get the final 5 or 6 games of this season, that would be a massive boost to this D-line. No?
It's surprising. Really surprising. I mean, there's been basically radio silence about his recovery. Like nothing like Akuda, nothing like Jerry, anyone like that. So it's going to be interesting. Like I say, he's been out a very long time. When we're down to 8-9 games to go, you kind of figure you're not going to start at least getting the best out of him for 5-6 games yet. So it gives him a very small window to really go at it at the end of this season, because I mean you're going to have some cap issues now when it comes to that edge room. Obviously, Aiden's on the rookie contract. That's going to keep getting bigger every year. You've paid Charles, who's on the books as well. I mean, if Julian's mini renaissance carries on much longer, he's in the last year of his deal next year. You may go have to pay him as well. We're paying Romeo Okwara $14 million. I mean, it's a case of a lot of money you got invested in your edge room then. So, I would kind of like to see him come back and do some, give us some good production this year. It's a nice headache to have, but it depends how quickly he can get back from this. Maybe he's been healthy a little while and they've just been holding him out. He's back sooner. Maybe he's right at the beginning of his rehab process. We don't know, but obviously it's great for him. It's great for him to be back on the field, and it's great for us because if we've got a fit Romeo, a fit Charles, a fit Aiden, Julian playing better, Pascal playing well, then Jesus, it's all of a sudden a really good edge rotation, which doesn't get tired. You can bring it in situationally. You can make life hell for people. So No, of course it's good news for us. It's going to be interesting to see the long-term future with him still, though.
I mean, I think that this is the point at which, if they take the full 21 days and come back after that, that it's like the minimum number of games that they need to acclimatise in terms of reps and still have enough time to just about make their mark on the season. Like, with Romeo, I'd almost written off the possibility that he'd be back next year because I didn't think, no matter how much time was left, that he'd be back long enough to justify his cap hit or cap saving next year. Because you save $7.5 million by cutting him, which is a heck of a lot of money if you haven't seen anything from him for a year and a half. Like, I think you probably do just end up taking that saving. But him having 4 to 5 games, maybe those 5 games, the first one's just a bit of a introduction to the season. So then 4 kind of fully fledged games to make your mark on the team and say, hey, I'm still here. And Chark too. If Chark apparently had really good chemistry with Goff in pre-season, it looked good. And then it just kind of melted away the first couple of games as we ran the ball a lot. They're both going to have a chance to take 4 games, go pedal to the metal, and play for their contracts. I know Chark is a UFA at the end of the year, but that means that we can re-sign him if we want to. And if they both go off, if Aquara gets a few sacks and Chark gets a few near 100-yard games, it puts a spanner in the works, or at least gets the Lions to think a bit.
It does. But I don't know. I just feel like the productivity has to be quite high. 'Cause he's the 4th highest paid player on the team next year. So, his cap hit's 14.5 million. It's a lot of money. And like you say, the savings that if he had, and if his brother carries on playing well, if Pascal carries on playing well, then you're at a difficult situation where you've got 3 guys on rookie deals still that you can pay a lot less and get good production out in the edge room and then save that money elsewhere. And it's a bit, do you go with it type thing? Because again, I don't think you're going to see a full him this year at all. I don't think you'll get a full healthy him this year. He'll need a full off season to be able to properly recuperate and get into shape. And then you've got to sort of decide whether you're going to take that hit on or not. And then you've obviously got a lot of other decisions. If you don't cut Goff, if you don't cut Romeo, then all of a sudden you've got very few cuttable contracts to give yourself money to really work in free agency. And then it just kind of feels like you're going again with the same group, apart from a draft class. And it's just like, I feel like Brad Holmes has to be brutal this year. And
yeah.
I think that Romeo is going to be, have these brutal standards imposed on him. Whereas if he can't come back and put up really good production quite soon, then Brad Holmes is going to deem that contract not viable for this team, and he's going to cut him and he's going to spend the money elsewhere. That's my fear there. But I would kind of agree with Brad as well. We need money to be able to reinvest into areas of this team. And if Julian, if Pascal, if Hutch are giving me the production I need other than that on lesser deals, it suddenly becomes sort of a no-brainer.
It does. I mean, at the end of the day, in terms of the cap situation, if you keep basically everyone, if you keep Romeo, if you keep Goff, if you keep Big V, Brockers I think is a goner no matter what, but then you sign your rookie class. Let's say you just cut Brockers, which I think is the only truly non-brainer decision. The others at least have an argument, even if you lean one way or the other. You just cut him and you sign your rookie class. I think you got like 25 million to spend in free agency, but actually don't have 25 million because a team like to keep between 5 and 10 free, which means you might have 15 million to spend free agency. That's 1 premium player, or maybe 2 or 3 good starters that aren't being paid very much, and that's not a lot for this team.
But like us, you've got to pay your practice squad, you've got to keep money spare for injuries and all that. Because don't forget, Tracy's probably not going to be playing next year. For a good part of it. It's the same injury Romeo's had. So, yeah, it soon goes. And unfortunately, the restructures to Vitae, the restructures to Brockers, that has limited the savings we get from them. I think Brockers, it's about 7.5 million now instead of 10, which it should have been. And it's just all that bits. You've got to find money from somewhere. Because there's no doubt in the young potential in this team. There is not. There's loads of young studs in this team, but you've got to get some vets in there with them, and you've got to find a way to pay them because defensively they're just not there right now. I mean, Brockers will be gone. I think there's no doubt about that at this moment in time. But if you want to get some genuine bona fide NFL talent and get them to come up here, and really complement it, you've got to find some money from somewhere. And, if it ain't Goff, then it's got to be Romeo, because that's really all you can go apart from Hal and Brockers. Outside of that, I mean, you're looking at, what is it? Reynolds saves you about 4, 3, 3.5, 4. You don't really got much else other than that. So
No.
I just think I think Romeo's going to find himself in a situation where he's really going to have to ball out, and to make them go, you know what, actually, I will pay him 14.5 million next year, and I will get what I need to out of him. So
I think that this is going to be very much a situational decision based on, I think, our record. So if you think about how things are going to play out, we're 3-6, okay? Do I think we're going to get a wild card? Absolutely not. Do most of us at Raw the Lions think they're going to get a wild card? Nah. But as a coaching team and, as a front office, they can't afford to kind of be seen to be, giving up now when they're 2 games behind a wild card spot. We've got the Giants, Bills, the Jags, the Vikings coming up in the next 4 games. So if we effectively split the last 8 games into 2 halves, so Giants, Bills, Jags, Vikings. If we're going to get a wildcard spot, we've got to win 3 out of 4 of those.
2. You can go 2.
Or 2, and then we'd be 5 and 7, and we probably would still be.
you've got to win out then, really.
Yeah.
No. You can get into the wild card this year in the NFC, maybe with 8 and 9, but at 9 and 8 will pretty much definitely get you in.
I think most NFC East teams are going to end up on 8 or 9 wins at this rate.
Just indulge me, right? So say we've got to be out of the Giants, the Bills, the Jags, the Vikings. We've got to win 3 out of those 4 to kind of be a credible contender. Then I think at the point when we kind of get to week 13, week 14, we will know where we're going to be heading. If we lose the next 2 games, then I can't see there being any pressing need for Romeo and Jameson Williams to be playing, against the Jets in week 15 or the Panthers in week 16. Why would they bother? But I think if they're really serious about next year, we can't afford we can't afford to be losing 3 out of our 4 last games and going into the off season with 0 momentum. We have to finish the season on a high if we're going to be credible about next year, because otherwise there'll just be, we're going to have a nucleus of a roster that is going to start next year. And if they've all just, spent the last couple of months of the season just sucking massively, I just can't see that mentality in the locker room being there for the start of next season to really kick on. So for me, 2 or 3 weeks will determine what they do with Jameson, what they do with Romeo. And if we lose the next couple of games, I don't expect to see either of those guys until week 17, maybe against the Bears, and they'll put them in for 2 token games, blow the rust off them, and see how they're doing. But there won't be anything kind of credible in terms of trying to win.
See, I disagree. You've got to play everyone as much as you can at this point. I mean, on Romeo, you've got to make a decision on whether you're going to take that cap hit next year or not. I'm not giving him a few, end of season games when nothing counts or anything to, see whether I'm going to invest that much money in him. And with Jameson, you've got to give him real life game reps in the NFL. You've got to get him acclimatized to it. What we're going to do, just hold him out this year, give him 1 quarter of a preseason game next year to the point when we're going to expose him against NFL defenses when he's played a couple of snaps in nearly 2 years? Are we going to do that? Are we going to risk our high-profile weapon and keep him out for so long? You've got to give this team experience. The whole point of a young team winning is they gel and get experience in the NFL. You don't get that by holding them out.
So Anne, say if we decide to put Jameson Williams in, okay, do you want to see him coming back in week 15, away from home at the Jets, facing up to Sauce Gardner on his first set of snaps? What are we going to learn from that?
We're going to learn how good he can be in this league. You're going to learn. You've got to, because he's going to be a massive part of your offense next season. He's the deep field threat. He's the guy who that's going to reverberate around. You've got to try and start implementing the concepts you're going to have with him in there. See how he affects your offense. See how it works going forward. I mean, you're not going to learn anything from holding him out for 2 years. You're just not. And
and against
next
Sauce
year,
Gardner in week 15, and bearing in mind how Gardner's playing, how the Jets secondary are playing, playing him away from home, probably a shitty weather game. Why would you put him in against like a hyped up Sauce Gardner when he's just coming back from injury? I think that'd be mental. I think all you're going to do is potentially create an issue, because you're going to push him to his physical limits, and you don't want to do that necessarily if there's nothing to play for.
Of course there is. You need to see whether he's good enough or not. You need to see if he's worth the investment that you've put into him at this point. I mean,
he gets injured and he's not ready for the start of next season.
Put it this way, I'm only saying that we put him back in and play him when he's ready to go. I'm not suggesting we rush him back for a game or anything, but if he is at this point 100% fit, as fit as he can be, and he's ready to go for these games, because don't forget, he's been running and doing this stuff for months now. So I'm going to put him in there. I'm going to see what he can do, because, I mean, I'm going to learn nothing by holding him out. Next year is year 3. I want to see some genuine, bona fide progress from this team next season towards getting towards a playoff and a wild card. I want this team to be able to be competitive enough to go out and do that, because by year 3, that's something you should be doing. And with my biggest offensive weapon, I want him to have at least some experience playing up here in the NFL. I don't want to just send him in as a pure-bred rookie. I'm not going to do my team any good next season. He could get injured first snap. He could be injured, he might miss next season. You get injured on any play on any day. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. You just have to take your risks in this league. You do with your players.
If we beat the Giants this weekend and then say the Bills on Thanksgiving, I'd absolutely be pushing him to be ready for that game, or as soon as you can get him on the field. Absolutely, because there's something on it. But I just wouldn't. I don't know. I just wouldn't risk him on a nothing game if there's nothing to play for. I would just limit it, really limit how you team, because I think it's situational.
I think for me, until you're mathematically eliminated in the NFC this season, you have a shot, because the NFC is just terrible. So unless we're mathematically eliminated, I'm with Ant. And the thing is, you're saying about Sauce Gardner or other potentially bad matchups for him, but Sauce ain't gonna out-dominate him physically. He's not a corner who's going to make him feel like he's been in a war. He may just get no catches, but it's not like you're playing prime, I don't know, Revis Island or something. He ain't that sort of physical specimen. So go out there and let's see what you can do. But also in terms of having Jamie on the field, that helps the other guys on the field. Amon-Ra's can have a bit more room. Josh Reynolds won't be facing one of the premier cornerbacks out there. So Jamo being out there helps the rest of the offense. And just because Sauce maybe lines up opposite him, we'll put Jamo in motion then. He's equally good from the slot as he is from anywhere else in the field. And if they're in zone as opposed to man, he ain't going to travel with him. And then you've got him on a favourable matchup. So it doesn't have to be just what you're saying. But I hear what you're saying about not risking him at a time when it doesn't seem necessary. We have Ryan, who's turned up. Ryan, how you doing, man?
Good, yeah. Now I'm all ready.
He's here. You're ready to go to New York for Saturday, aren't you?
I am, yes. Fly Saturday morning. Get there around 7 p.m. Saturday tea time, I think.
Not jealous. Not jealous at all. And not jealous at all is one of our guests coming in from the sorry, I get the name right in a minute. Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. Dan is here. How are you doing, Dan?
All good, guys. How we doing?
Not doing too bad. Yes, so Ryan's going to watch the game. Are you nervous for him?
A little bit. We're on form at home this year, so yeah, I'm a little bit nervous for you, but just as jealous as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. We haven't really gone through the game at all as yet. We've really had a focus on the Lions. So the Giants coming in, they're obviously 7-2, which is, and I think I put this politely in your show yesterday, but slightly ahead of expectations. What's the biggest reason for what's the biggest reason for you guys having that many wins on the board? Has it been that you've been blowing other teams away, or the game plan just makes sense? You're out grinding teams, getting a bit lucky. What's the reasons why you are where you are? Because I'm quite jealous.
We're not blowing teams away by any stretch of the imagination, but personally, I think it comes down to coaching. Brian Daboll, Mike Kafka, Wink Martindale, the three of those guys are coaching these players to within an inch of their lives, and they're turning up every week. And our defense has been strong, our offense has been okay, but we're not making mistakes. We're not committing turnovers. You know, we're on the plus side of things with regards to turnovers, and our defense is making plays. We've forced 10 fumbles so far this year, which leads the league. So our defense is playing really, really hard, and having a player like Kayvon Thibodeau on that defensive line is creating havoc and allowing other players like Dexter Lawrence to be one-on-one and get through that line and make some plays on the quarterback. Coaching for me, it's so refreshing to see a coach like Brian Daboll come in and just a complete 180 from last year with Joe Judge. He believes in the players. He puts confidence into the players just by being himself. And I think having Joe Shane as the GM coming at the beginning of the year, it was huge. You know, we've been there with sort of Dave Gettleman over the last few years, and he was just running the team into the ground. So it's a breath of fresh air. Joe Shane coming in and bringing in the coaches he wants, and it's better than we could ever imagined. I mean, we're in year one of a rebuild, and we're 7-2. So I can't really ask for much more, to be fair.
Absolute dreamland. I mean, just to reel off some of the national media stats: 28th overall per PFF, 19th per Football Outsiders. Offense is 24th per PFF, 15th by Football Outsiders, and the defense 27th by PFF and 24th by Football Outsiders. So mid-table to lower mid-table in most of those metrics. But I have a look at Pro Football Reference, and I think I've nailed down exactly what you're talking about with this defense. Your defense ranks second in the NFL on third down, on not allowing third down conversions, and second in the NFL on not allowing fourth down conversions. So it's not maybe that down to down your defense is doing the business, because otherwise the national metrics would be showing that. But when it comes to the money downs, you guys situationally are being fantastically coached, as you say.
Yeah, and we're also not allowing touchdowns in the red zone as well. Our red zone defense is one of the best in the league as well. So it's the big downs. It's those big moments in the game where you need that defense to step up, and they do, and they make those plays. And you're
absolutely right. Sorry, that's the red zone percentage was second. So third down second, red zone second. Beg your pardon. Yeah,
that's all right. Yeah, you look at those. You look at the level of talent we've got on the defense, and it's okay. You know, we thought losing Blake Martinez at the beginning of the year was going to be a massive loss for us, but they've introduced a mantra of this sort of next man up, and the next man up is performing. You know, we lost Xavier McKinney last week to that hand injury in that ATV accident, and don't go there. Don't go there. That's such a Giants thing. That's such a Giants injury. You look back to obviously the famous boat trip that happened, and then you look back before that and Plaxico Burress shooting himself in the leg, and these things only happen to Giants players. So, you know, Julian Love's come in and stepped up where McKinney's not there as well. So players are stepping up on the defensive line when we're losing players like Leonard Williams. And so it's just that next man up mantra it's working, and for whatever, I don't know how Brian Daboll's done it, but he's instilled that in this team, and it just seems to be working so well.
Questions, fellas?
I think first of all, I just want to say a big thank you for beating the Packers.
You're most welcome.
I think we all thoroughly enjoyed that game, and obviously with the occasion. How was that game for you?
I mean, I've been to all three of the Giants games in London, and that was by far and above the best of the three. None of us expected to beat Green Bay that week. Being it was a Packers home game, the Packers travelled ridiculously well. I mean, it was a wall of green and gold in that stadium, and during the first half it was so loud, unbelievably loud. But then the second half we turned it around, and at the end of the game, all you could hear was Big Blue fans going crazy, and the Packers fans were a little bit quiet at the end of that game. So it was a great game. We made some fantastic plays, and we come away from that game with a win. We're now 3-0 in London. And the previous 2 years we've been to London, we've finished the season with a winning record. So, it's looking good this year as well. But yeah, what a game that was! What a weekend it was for myself and the other guys on my podcast. There were so many pinch yourself moments. Managed to wind up at the filming of the Eli Manning show on the Friday. Got to meet the guy himself. Signed some jerseys for us. And then the Saturday we were at Giants Kickoff Live. There was so much going on that weekend. It was unreal. And it's probably one of the best weekends of my life. So yeah, the game just topped it off and was the cherry on the top, really. So yeah.
Jaguars fans are particularly annoying, but we've come to find that UK Packers fans are even more annoying.
They absolutely are.
Yeah. So obviously, you've stopped one of the great quarterbacks of modern times in Aaron Rodgers. How are you going to cope with Jared Goff?
It's a good question. I think our pass rush is stronger than it was last year, a lot stronger than it was last year. Thibodeau's causing all manner of chaos on coming off the edge, and like I said, allowing those interior linemen to be one-on-one with the opposing offensive linemen, and they're getting through and making plays. We're putting pressure on the quarterback like you wouldn't believe. We lead the league in blitzing percentages, which is not a surprise with Wink Martindale being the DC. So I think just putting that pressure on Jared Goff might push him into making some mistakes. I hope.
Going forward, how do you feel about Daniel Jones? Do you feel like this has kind of saved his career going forward? Do you feel comfortable going forward with next season? Because between the start of his career and now, it's kind of been a bit like a Make-A-Wish Foundation. Played a bit like he's got special needs, gives the ball away a lot. But this year, he's actually really cleaned that up a bit. And like you say, it's coaching. Is it him? Something's clicked to stop silly fumbles, interceptions. So do you think he is the man going forward, or do you still have your eye on a QB in the draft, even though you won't be picking very highly?
To be honest, I mean, we had this conversation last night on our podcast actually as well, to be fair. I think he's beginning to show signs that he can be the guy moving forward. When we picked him, obviously, in the draft 4 years ago, it was kind of, okay, well, there was better quarterbacks in the draft, but we'll go with it. And he just reminds us all of Eli Manning. The first 3 years was not great. Turned the ball over too many times, and that ball security just wasn't there. But this year, he's only thrown 2 interceptions through 9 games, and he can make some crazy plays with his legs. And the great thing about this offense is Mike Kafka and Dable have dialed up some plays purely for his legs, and he's doing really well in the ground game as well. So I think moving forward, if he carries on this season doing what he's doing at the moment, I don't see any reason why he won't be a quarterback come September next year.
Any other questions, lads?
From a Giants point of view, what have you made of the Lions' kind of incredibly inconsistent, mercurial, whatever you want to call it? Like, I would imagine if you're not a big Lions watcher, it's hard to pin down, how we're going to play from one week to the next. We don't know, and we watch them every week. So what's your kind of perspective on the Lions from what you've seen?
I mean, one of the things I'm jealous about you guys is that you're actually scoring a fair amount of points each game. I mean, barring the shutout against the Patriots and the Green Bay game, I think more often than not you're scoring pretty highly. I mean, look at the 48-45 you had earlier on in the season as well. So there's a lot of points you're putting on the board, and you're making the other team score even more than you are. I mean, whether that's, you're coming back from a large deficit, or you're in the game throughout the whole game. To be fair, like, for the fact you're 3-6, standing as you are, if a couple of things went your way, you could easily be 6-3. So you've been in a lot of tight games as well, as far as I can remember. So if the tables had turned and you that luck had gone your way instead of against you, like I said, you could easily be 6-3 and be sitting just behind us, if not with us, in the standards in the NFC. So I think point scoring for me is big for you guys, and so I think it's something I'm actually quite jealous of, because we haven't scored over 30 points at all this season. So I think that might change this weekend, because if you're going to put up the points, we've got to put up the points to match you. So we all sort of made our predictions yesterday, and the over under sitting at 45.5, and we all think it's going to go over that. So we'll see what happens. But I know the money line, obviously the Giants are the favourites, but at the same time, the spread's now down to 3 points, and obviously the Giants being the home team, traditionally the home team gets 3 points, and beginning of the week it was at 5.5. So there's been a lot of money coming in for you guys. So I don't see that this isn't an easy game at all. We said the game last week against Houston was going to be a bit of a trap game, and we came away. Luckily, we came away with the win. We didn't play great, but we did enough to get the win. I think this week the game is tougher than the game was last week against Houston, and I wouldn't be surprised if you guys came into MetLife and actually got the win. But at the same time, I don't want that to happen, obviously. But we kind of knew we were going to lose to Seattle when we went out west, and it happened. And there's some niggling thing in the back of my mind that says this is a trap game. We can't be that confident, because you can score points, and if we can't put the points on the board, then you're going to come away with a win. So it's going to be an interesting game, that's for sure. It's going to be a tight one.
Was
See, go on.
I was about to say, was the Eagles losing the other day possibly bad for you? Because now there's a possibility that you might get the conference. Does that ramp up the pressure for you guys? And if it is, do you reckon the team can handle it and maybe take them all the way? Because before, if they were unbeaten, it's like, oh, well, they're far ahead of us, we can't catch them. But now the opportunity is there. Can they deal with it?
I think the team this year has been fairly consistent, and with each week their confidence builds and builds and builds. I think Philadelphia losing on Monday night to Washington, I laughed. I laughed and laughed and laughed, because I know nobody saw that coming, and it's always nice to see Philly lose. But no, I completely agree with that. The fact that we're now one game behind them in the East, we've still got to play them twice over the last 7 weeks of the year, and there's a lot at stake. There's potential number one seed in the NFC at stake. So they've got to be realistic and look at it and think this is within reach now. We could be the worst number one seed in the NFC of all time, but at the end of the day, I don't care, because we'd be the number one seed, So I think the pressure is on. Absolutely, nobody expected to be 7-2, but the pressure is definitely on. But I think the way they've dealt with that pressure so far, especially with the pressure from like the New York media, the way they've dealt with it so far has been fantastic. And I think if we carry on doing what we're doing week in, week out, then the sky's the limit for this team. But I think the good thing with the coaching team is they sort of keep the team humble and keep the team sort of focused on next game. They're not looking ahead into the future, but at this stage it's got to be in the back of their minds.
You were talking about you've got to put points on the board. Obviously Thibodeau was like has got a lot of focus in terms of first round picks. But I wondered what your thoughts were on Evan Neal, so the guy that you took second in the first round, and Saquon Barkley's kind of mini renaissance has anything to do with like an improved O-line for the Giants? Because obviously Daniel Jones has spent a couple of seasons scrambling about under a lot.
Yeah, I think Evan Neal, obviously picking number 7 overall, we were so happy with that pick. Because we needed help on the offensive line, and having those two bookends on the offensive line in Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal has been fantastic for us. We've missed Evan Neal over the last couple of games, but Tyree Phillips has slotted in. He's really he's a guard and he's playing at right tackle. So, our offensive line for the last few years has been, poor. That's putting it lightly as well. It's been poor, but there's always been that one constant in Andrew Thomas. Now they've got someone else on the other side, in Evan Neal. It's definitely shored things up a bit. He's looking like he's back from his injury, but I don't think he's going to go this weekend. He's probably going to be in line for the Dallas game, which is a shame. But I think having that consistent offensive line has allowed Barkley to be the number one rusher in the league, and Barkley's now at the point where he's had so many injuries over the last few years. This is the first full preseason he's had since his rookie year, and so he's confident. He knows what he can do. He knows he can run the ball, and he's not scared of getting injured like he was last year and the year before, because the offensive line is there creating the holes for him, and he's pounding through them. So, yeah, having Evan Neal has definitely helped the offensive line, and I believe helped Barkley to be where he is now as well.
I've got a question from a listener, Dan Pask, who's basically the greatest Lions listener of all time, who's basically on every single show of every single podcast, which is insane. He's asked a really good question, which is in the hearts and minds of Lions fans everywhere, and it's about a player we talked about yesterday in Kenny Golladay. He was a guy that we seriously had back and forth with about 50% of the fan base split on whether to tag him, whether to sign him, or whether to let him walk. We let him walk, and he gets signed to this bumper deal, league-leading deal for a wide receiver in free agency. And it seemed like, that it was a slight overpay, but the guy's production was excellent, and, that he kind of deserved to get paid, which is why we couldn't afford to do it. But he seems to have fallen off a cliff. What's happened?
Injuries, confidence. Kenny Golladay just hasn't happened for the Giants. We've paid him a load of money, and he's just not performed. He's not performed to what his potential was coming from Detroit. He put up some great numbers. He had Matt Stafford throwing some absolute bombs and dimes to him, and he put up some big numbers in Detroit, and he's just not performed and not produced in New York. And we definitely did overpay for him, $72 million over 4 years, and the guy can't catch a break. He can't catch. He's constantly injured, and then when he comes back from injury, he drops the ball. The drop against Houston at the weekend, where it just went straight through his hands. I'm sorry, you're getting paid that amount of money, and you can't catch a simple, easy pass like that on a third down. Which, if you'd have made the pass, you had green grass in front of you, and there's a long gain and a third down conversion. He was rightly benched after that, and you could see him on the sideline afterwards, head in his hands and just sort of mulling his life over, really, what's gone wrong. But to answer your question, I don't know what's gone wrong. It's just not worked for him. Whether the offensive system we had over the last two years was an issue for him, don't know. Whether the coach over the last couple of years was an issue for him, I don't know. But he's not done anywhere near what we expected him to do for that amount of money. And I think come the end of this year, he's going to be a free agent. He's going to be gone.
To be expected, I guess. Let's turn our attention at the back half of this interview to talk about this specific game and your impressions on where you can hurt us and where we can hurt you. Where's this game being won as you see it?
This game is being won on the ground. I think if Barkley can have a field day with your defense, he can have a really big day, I think. But at the same time, if if your defense steps up and stops him, that makes us very one-dimensional. It makes us turn to Daniel Jones to start throwing the ball downfield. And I think when the pressure's on him that much, he can let a few mistakes and creep in, and this offense is built to it's built to run through Barkley, and then everything else is very much sort of play action and short gain passing the game. That sort of short gain in the passing game. There's the Slayton catch at the weekend, the Slayton catch and run at the weekend, the 54-yard touchdown was very unexpected because we don't make long passing plays. We don't make big long completions. It's very much a case of 8-10 yard completions over the middle, or sort of screen passes, things like that. So if Barkley gets stuffed, then we turn to the passing game, and Daniel Jones then has to perform. And I think your pass defense is better than your run defense, so it'll be interesting to see. I see some faces there like maybe not, but I think you guys can definitely hurt our secondary, because our secondary doesn't have the greatest amount of talent, and they play well, they play hard, but at the same time, because we blitz so much, you can catch us in single coverage and potentially exploit us that way as well.
Well, you've got Adoree Jackson back there, who's a heck of a defender. I'm a big Jackson fan. But yeah, I see what you're saying about this matchup. We've got about 5 minutes left, I think. Guys, any last questions, and then we'll go to a score prediction to finish?
I've got a question. You currently start 7-2, having a good year. For you, obviously wide receiver, what are the holes that need repairing, and what do you target in free agency in the draft? Because you're going to be picking like 23 onwards, so you're not going to get a big hitter potentially. But what areas do you focus? Because like I said, you're going to trade Kenny surely, so that leaves a gaping hole at receiver. But where else?
Yeah, receiver, we need some. I mean, we were a bit surprised we didn't make any moves at receiver before the trade deadline, but at the same time, the value wasn't there in the market, so we didn't make a move. So yeah, receiver definitely. I think we do need help in linebacker as well. Tay Crowder was sort of our linebacker one at the beginning of the season, and he was Mr. Irrelevant a few years ago. So we do need some help at linebacker, and I think in our defense, our secondary as well. They're good. They play hard, but I think we really sort of need that cornerback too to go alongside Adoree Jackson. And the last position I really do think we need some extra depth at is tight end, because without Dan Bellinger at the moment, we're really struggling at tight end. I know Cager caught a touchdown catch at the weekend, the guy that come over from the Jets, but ordinarily, I mean, I know we let Evan Engram go in the off season, but ordinarily someone like Lawrence Cager, I believe that's his name, he would be probably a practice squad candidate at best. So yeah, tight end's another area of improvement I think we need.
Oh, I love Bellinger, though. Bellinger's my guy. He was in the draft. I got 2 questions for you from the chat, and then we'll do a score prediction. The first one is regarding this Brian Daboll interview, talking about hiring Dan Campbell in Miami. I don't know if you've seen this interview.
No.
Giants Wire wrote a piece on it 4 hours ago, so it must have been today's press conference. But he talks about, or Daboll talks about Tony Soprano. Sparano, beg your pardon, not Soprano, that's a different guy. Saying, I've got this guy who would be good, why don't we interview him? So he says, so I interviewed Dan, and it was a great interview. He's slamming chairs on the ground and hitting walls and going through all these drills. You guys know him, he's a fantastic person, great family. It was an entertaining interview. He knew a lot, very passionate, tough as nails. He was out of breath in half of that interview with the stuff he was doing. Yeah, great guy. And then, of course, he ended up hiring him. Is Daboll known for handing out such praise to opposition coaches? It seems like a bit of a weird flex.
I mean, yeah, he's obviously a fan of Dan Campbell. To be fair, I'm a fan of Dan Campbell as well. From watching Hard Knocks at the beginning of the year, I thought he came across really well, and he came across really passionately, and you could see that he just wants to win. He's a competitor. He just wants to win. I think Daboll's been a breath of fresh air for us, and whether he praises coaches or not, opposition coaches or not, that's down to him. But if he coaches the way he coaches us, has coached us so far this season into the future, then the future's looking very bright for us.
Absolutely. Last question from the chat was from Rob, who says, In the battle of the top edges in the draft, who's going to have the bigger game on Sunday, Hutch or Tibbs?
I mean, Tibbs is getting double teamed so often, which is frustrating. But at the same time, it's showing him the respect he deserves. I like Aiden Hutchinson. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he has so much potential, so much talent to be one of the best edge rushers in this league. And I think Hutch has a better game than Tibbs purely because Tibbs he's not got that spark, that extra half yard that he needs to get to the quarterback. He's so close all the time. But we'll see. I think Hutchinson has a better game at the weekend, but I think Thibodeau is improving week by week, and it's only going to be a matter of time until he has a multiple sack game and has his sort of breakout game of the whether that's this year in his rookie year or next year. It remains to be seen, but he's getting the respect he deserves in the fact that he's being double teamed by a lot of opposing teams' offensive lines. So, but yeah, I think Hutchinson has a better game this weekend.
Fair, okay. And we're going to give our score predictions at the end of the show, but I know that you're going to be on your way in just a second. So why don't you give us your score prediction for this game?
Cool. Well, we've sort of spoken a little while, for a little while about the fact that we're due to have a game where we score more than 30 points. And I think this is the weekend that we score more than 30 points. But then at the same time, I think you guys score highly as well. I think, like I said, the over-under's at 45.5, and I think it comes in over that. My prediction on our pod last night was 36-33 Giants, and I'm sticking with that.
Sounds good to me. And talk...
I want to see a good game.
I say good, but, in terms of what you're saying for yourself. But there we go. Talk to us about the podcast, about Big Blue UK and Ireland. I was on your show yesterday, and that may be of interest to Lions fans. So tell us where to find you and how it's been going, because we spoke to you guys in the draft in 2021. So how's things been going since then, and where are you at? What's your handles and all that stuff?
Yeah, so you can find us on Twitter, on Instagram at Big Blue UK Ireland. Literally, the draft in 2021 was sort of, we'd been going for maybe about a month at that point. So it's been a roller coaster 18 months. We've thoroughly enjoyed the ride, and it's now become a passion of ours. Back last year, we were four guys. We kind of knew each. Well, no, three guys even, because Craig wasn't with us at the beginning of last year. We were three guys. We kind of knew each other, but we just wanted to get something going. And now we're four mates. We talk football every week, and we absolutely love what we do. It's a pleasure to sit down and talk Giants football every week, and it makes it just that little bit sweeter that we're actually winning. So yeah, at Big Blue UK Ireland on Twitter, on Instagram, and you can also find us. We're part of the New York Giants Fans UK on Facebook, and that's how that page is essentially how we all got together and created this podcast that we're doing now.
And you're doing great work. And Dan, thank you so much for coming on. Just had comments in the chat saying crossovers are great, need to keep doing them. Giovanni Lyons just said, what a humble fella. Loads of nice comments in there, and it means a lot to us. So thanks, Dan, and hopefully speak to you maybe draft time. Good luck for Sunday.
Thanks for having us, guys. Really appreciate it, and thanks to the listeners for the love. Really do appreciate that. But yeah, speak to you soon, guys. Take care.
Cheers, Dan.
Right.
All right, there goes Dan from Big Blue UK and Ireland. Really grateful to him for coming onto the show. I'm just going to reel off some stats just because I've missed that early doors, and I would have got through that by now. So bear with me while I just give you all the stats you need to know in this game. Giants are 7-2. Pro Football Reference say that their average win-loss record should be 4.9 to 4.1. So they are 2.1 games above expectation. They beat the Tennessee Titans game 1. They then won at home against Carolina 19-16. Lost against Cowboys 23-16 at home. Beat the Bears. Beat Green Bay. Beat Baltimore. Beat Jacksonville, then lost to Seattle, and then recently Last Sunday just beat Houston. The Lions are 5-4 in this game in the betting. Giants 13-8 on, translating to a 3-point spread in favour of the Giants, and over under per Betfair. All of this is 45.5. In terms of the injury report, in fact, I'll start off with the IR players for the Giants. So Sterling Shepard and Azeez Ojulari are the guys that are key on IR, and they have $49 million in dead money this season. So they have a big cap handicap, much like we did last year. Maybe not quite as much, but it's a quarter of their cap on dead money. So it's a significant amount. In terms of the injury reports, they have still not come out yet officially. For the Lions, they were missing quite a few players. Benson, Decker, Pascal, Ragnow, Reynolds and Williams on Wednesday. Of those, Jamal Williams, Josh Reynolds and Taylor Decker have returned, but still no Benson, Ragnow or Pascal. They have not returned. Limited was also Deshaun Elliott, but full practice, this is on Wednesday now because I don't have the rest of the information. Chase Lucas, Ifeatu Melifonwu, Matt Nelson, Malcolm Rodriguez and DeAndre Swift all fully practice on Wednesday, so good news especially for Malcolm and for DeAndre Swift, full practice, so hopefully trending towards playing in this game. For the Giants, they were missing Bellinger, Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau on Wednesday. Now, Lawrence was a veteran rest day, but he is also carrying a back injury. They also have 5 limited players: Dane Belton, Kenny Golladay, Evan Neal, Wan'Dale Robinson and Jihad Ward. So both teams fairly banged up. As I say, the Giants are either carrying a few players on IR or missing a lot in dead money as well. I've already given you their PFF and Football Outsiders stats for DVOA. On offense, obviously the quarterback is Daniel Jones. 156 completion on 237 attempts is 65.8% completion percentage. Only 8 passing touchdowns this season, but only 2 interceptions. Passer rating 92.7, quarterback rating 60.3. Also on the ground, has 69 carries for 387 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's 5.6 yards per carry and a PFF grade of 65.5. But the offense, as we've heard, really runs through Saquon Barkley. 198 carries, 931 yards and 6 touchdowns. That leads the NFL in rushing yards, 4.7 yards per carry. 29 of 36 in the receiving game as well for 197 yards to 6.8 yards per catch and a PFF grade of 79.6. Otherwise, their key players are on their offensive line. Andrew Thomas is the highest rated left tackle in football per PFF, 89.6 PFF grade, 606 snaps, 9 pressures, no sacks allowed. Exceptional season from someone who had such a bad rookie season. On defense, they really have done some great things with that defensive line. The nose tackle, he wasn't a nose tackle up until this year really, but the nose tackle Dexter Lawrence, taking about 60 to 70% of his snaps at the zero technique, has been exceptional. He has 2 passes defended, a forced fumble, 5 sacks, 33 tackles, 16 solo tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, 16 quarterback hits and a PFF grade of 91.1. From the zero technique, his 16 quarterback hits are 3 times higher than the person in second place. That is how good he has been so far this year, which means that Ragnow being out of practice through Wednesday and Thursday is a massive worry. The rest of the defensive line have been pretty good too. Leonard Williams, a forced fumble, 1.5 sacks, 26 tackles, 16 of which solo, 1 tackle for a loss, 7 quarterback hits, and a PFF grade of 87.6. Kayvon Thibodeau has flashed but not had the consistency. 3 passes defended, a forced fumble and a fumble recovery, a sack, 18 tackles, 12 of which solo, 3 quarterback hits, and a PFF grade of 65.3. Lot to get through there. But I think the thing to take away from that initially is that defense on that defensive line, playing that 3-4 scheme that we were playing last year, which is actually 5 on that defensive line, is wreaking havoc with people and not letting them move whatsoever. And it starts at that nose tackle position, but not with Kayvon, but with Dexter Lawrence, boys.
Oh, I worry. If Ragnow can't go, we're in big trouble. I don't trust Evan Brown to stop Dexter Lawrence. Penei Sewell, I think, will bottle up. I think he'll put Kayvon in his back pocket. This isn't the week Kayvon breaks out. I just don't see it. Like I say, defense is stout. Secondary, I'd say the blitz scheme as well. I think like Amon-Ra and that, I'll have a field day, Khalif Raymond. If they're just going to blitz and we're just going to find gaps across the middle, that is where we can hurt them. They're going to leave gaps wide open across the middle, and we'll just pass through on shallow crossing routes, and that's where we're going to knife them. So the front worries me. Everything behind it, I think we can pick it off fairly comfortably. But yeah, offensive line is going to have a big old day. It's going to be fun, that backish in the trenches. It's going to be won or lost on the ground in the trenches this game.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a massive test for Sewell, Decker, Ragnar. It's going to be one of the hardest tests. And I kind of worry about our production in terms of Jamal Williams and Swift. I mean, Swift's going to need to be prepared to take contact and to have to, run through some bodies. And I'm just not sure he's up to it based on what I've seen in the last few weeks. I don't know what you guys thought about how Swift's playing at the moment.
Like crap. It's all up there. It's like Saquon Barkley. Swift right now has got no bottle. And to come out and say I'm not injury prone, he needs to keep telling himself that, but we all know that's full of shit. And this game, he will not return run between the tackles or get pancaked. So I don't want Swift getting touches. Unless it's the red zone, I'm not interested in playing him. This is not the week to try boost his confidence. Leave that to next year.
I mean, it's a case of, you've got to run the ball on these guys. You take away the pass rush threat of Dexter Lawrence, of Kayvon Thibodeau, because Cabo can't run block the shit. This is the worst run defense in the league in terms of yards given up per game. You can run on these guys very easy. A lot of teams have run on these guys very easy. It's when you get down to the red zone, you have problems with them. The red zone defense is incredibly good. It's second best in the league when it comes to giving up touchdowns. But, I would trust my guys to go out there and win this. We made Kenny Clark look like a jackass 2 weeks ago, and he's the best nose tackle in the NFL, period. So, I trust my offensive line to be able to go out there and run the ball down their throat and take the time off the clock, because this is the big issue here. It's time on the field. They have the fourth best time of possession in the entire NFL. So that means guys like Dexter Lawrence, they're fresh, they're healthy. They don't have to play that much at home. They average over 35 minutes of possession. That's a lot. It's over 10 more minutes per game than the opposition's getting. If he's that much healthier, that much fitter, that much fresher, you can go out and make those plays. So it's about wearing this defense down. It's blitz heavy. Well, run the ball. Take away that threat from the blitz. Got good guys on the interior against pass. Run the damn ball. That's all you got to do with this game is run the ball and run it hard. Jamal's playing really well at the minute. He gets the hard, dirty yards that he needs to. I trust him to go out and do this. Even if Ragnar's not good to go, but Evan's still practicing at right guard. He's not practicing at center. There's no reason to believe that Frank ain't going to go for this one. I think we can run the ball there because there's a lot of success to be had. And I think in the process, you negate these pass rush issues, which they're so damn good with. Just don't come out like you do against the Bears and start trying to throw it straight away, because then you'll be in a whole world of trouble. But it's easy to run the ball on this team. They've got no linebackers, so get through that line and you've got acres of space to run into and exploit. So that's what we do.
I think Justin Jackson. I think this is the big week for Justin Jackson. He has got more carries every week, and he's getting first downs. He's getting between the tackles, but he can also bounce outside. I'd give him a hefty workload this week. If they don't want to run through the nose tackle, give it to Justin, let him try run outside. So I agree. Let's pound the rock on them. Let's test them.
Perfect week to use Sauce Superback. That's why we have fullbacks, a guy in there to be the blocker, the excess blocker to go in and make even more room. If Dexter Lawrence is giving Evan Brown a bit of a hard time, have Kabinda in there, second hit, making those gaps, forcing the ball down their throat. That is what New York do. They force the ball down your throat with Saquon Barkley. Only Derrick Henry has rushed the ball more times this season than Saquon Barkley. That's by about 4 carries. And Tennessee run him into the ground each day, every day. That's what they do to you. They just ground and pound, keep you on the field so that even a bog standard quarterback like Daniel Jones can take advantage of a tired defense that's knackered from trying to stop Saquon and has been out there for so long. So you've got to turn the tables and do that back to them. You've just got to keep running the ball down their throat, keep the defense out there, make these prime players they've got tired, reduce their effectiveness, take time off the board. Don't give them a chance to score on you. And we're capable of doing that. We've got the bits now. We've got people coming back from injury. The squad's getting healthier. So I think we can do it. And I think the Giants are under a lot of pressure now because that division is wide open. I mean, they're not even safe in terms of going for a wild card and that. Washington are only 2 games behind at the bottom of the division. They've not been used to pressure like this for a few years now. So, is it going to buckle them? I don't know if they're ready to do it. But I know that we're damn sure ready to run the ball on them.
So in terms of running the ball, in terms of run defense, the New York Giants have given up 133.2 yards per game. That's 24th in the NFL. But at home, they've given up 156.6 yards per game on the ground. That's 30th in the NFL. So they're even worse at home on run defense than they are away, which I found really, really bizarre. But they are certainly not the best run defense team in the world. But the amount of pressure they exert on running downs, especially with that blitz package that they run, so many stunts, so many blitzes. Obviously, you said Wink Martindale is calling a huge amount of blitzes, bringing over that sort of Baltimore scheme. And it is masking a load of problems they have on defense. And let's move on to the idea of Goff versus pressure and what our wide receivers can do to that secondary. Do you guys think, given the weakness in the secondary, which has been identified by our guest, and the fact that they like to blitz quite heavily, can our O-line give Goff enough time to throw the ball on them? Because as much as running the ball is going to be a way to win this game, Goff is going to have to throw at some point. We've seen it from this Lions team too many times. Actually, Goff has bailed us out in games, especially last week. Can he do it on Sunday?
Providing you're in short yardage situations, yes, because you get the ball out of his hands quick. You've seen how much they bring so many people on the blitz. It is so easy for a guy like Amon-Ra to get in behind them, match himself on one of these piss poor linebackers that they've got, and really make some devastating plays on them here. Get it in short yardage and then your money. That's what you got to do. The Texans were not able to do that this weekend. When the Texans were able to impose their will on in terms of the run game, I think it's right at the start of the second quarter, they had success play after play after play after play, just kept running it down their throats. Didn't need Davis Mills to do too much for them, and they got him into favorable situations where he was able to pass the ball better. That's the little bit of success they had. Unfortunately for them, they kept falling behind the sticks all the time, and they had to force him to throw, which is why they ended up losing. But just for little parts in that game, you saw the method of victory against these guys. Take that pass rush out. When you blitz so much, I mean, the Lions blitzed all the time, and we couldn't do it because we couldn't get to the quarterback, and because teams were running on us. We weren't in favorable situations to really go blitzing to try and get quarterback, but we had to out of necessity, and it didn't work. We got burned all the time, so. I just wouldn't, I hope they've seen the same, but Jared Goff needs to be a glorified handoff merchant this week who's needed every now and then just to keep the defense honest. But we have the tools to be able to carve through this line. Dexter Lawrence can't block everybody. And I don't rate the rest of that defensive line's ability to block the run. Like I said, they're giving up 5.4 yards per carry. It's most in the NFL. The only trouble teams aren't running on them as much is because the Giants are ahead a lot of the time and teams are coming from behind and can't run it. But 5.5 yards a carry is a lot. So that's all we need to do. Just run the damn ball. Keep it out of Jared Goff's hands. Because you saw when Mills was taking his sacks, he was panicking. And the one thing Goff does under pressure, he panics. I know he's been better in recent weeks, but when you're getting blitzed by so many guys, you just panic and you go into, this mode where you throw the ball anyway, you give it up easy. We don't want to put him in that situation. So just run the damn ball and leave it at that.
I think the issue is for us has got to be not getting penalties on us and ending up in lots of 3-10, 3-15 situations, because it's just at that point when Goff has to hold the ball that these blitzes are going to come down, and we just know what Goff's like in these situations. I think you're right, and Goff's got to let the ball go quickly because he just won't have the time. And my worry is that Goff under pressure, can be jumpy and he can throw picks. We've seen some really good play from Goff this season, but I just don't think this is a great matchup for us.
I don't know. I think it's easy. I think, bring 2 tight ends in, bring 3 tight ends in, have Amon-Ra out there on his own, put a mismatch in the middle for him, give the impression you're going to run the ball, get them to sell the house on it, get your playmakers in behind and take advantage of them. Hell, put Swift in there and do a bit of that if you want, and let Jamal do the running in this game. But I don't know. I feel like we do have the correct skill set of players needed to do this. We don't need big players who are going to make 60-yard gains downfield or anything. That's not how it works. That blitz scheme just closes you down too quick. But what we do have is the intermediate, in the middle of the field threats to take advantage of the worst part of their defense by a long way. So I actually think this plays into us as long as the offensive line runs the ball, run blocks well, and gets us getting there. If we can implement this straight away, like we did against the Bears only got 3 drives against us in the first half of the last game, and they started with the ball. That's how long we were sustaining drives. They were as well to a degree, but you've got to be very disciplined on the line of scrimmage here. Stop them running it, and you take away everything about that offense. Danny Jones still can't win a game on his own. You need Saquon Barkley's help, and that's why they've been winning games this year. So you've just got to be very disciplined.
So Ant's keys to win clearly are run the ball. Ryan, what do you reckon we need to do? When you're in attendance, what are you looking for from this Lions team?
As Steve said, absolutely no false starts, no penalties, because we're playing the second best team on third down. If we're in 3rd and 10 and 3rd and 15, the game is over, because we will not get the time for players to develop when they start blitzing. We won't be able to wait for guys to get free downfield, 10, 15 yards. So discipline, number 1, do not get penalised. Number 2, tight ends. If they're going to blitz them, if they're going to send their backers on blitzes and leave that field wide open, James Mitchell, Shane Zylstra, like I say, get them to just bail and just sit comfy zones or just get the ball out to them. Just dump it off. Literally just check down. This is going to be a check down game. As soon as they give you what you can take it. So yeah, get fast balls. DeAndre Swift, like I say, as soon as he's out, just let him scamper and just go and sit in hole. That's all we need to do. Don't need splash players. Like I say, we just need to control time of possession because they're so good at it. That means long 6, 7, 8 minute drives that end up in points because they're one of the best in the red zone as well. So you've got to get creative in the red zone. We need to see Ben Johnson pull out all the tricks. We need to see the tight ends faking. We need to see the end arounds, the reverses. We're not going to be able to just run Jamal Williams up the middle. That just won't work in the red zone because they will just go jumbo set and they'll meet him in the middle. So we're going to have to be creative in the red zone. And on defense, Daniel Jones is still a fucking scrub. Let's not put a bow on it. He's shit. Darius Slayton, bang average. Wan'Dale Robinson, overrated. Kenny Golladay won't be there next year. He's the most over. He's got the worst attitude I've ever seen. He's so fucking entitled, little brat. He's the most expensive paperweight in football right now. So if we pass rush him...
Why don't you tell the guys what you really think about the Giants' offense?
Daniel Jones, man, like I say, literally, if you get to him, those turnovers will rack up. I don't trust him whatsoever, especially if Evan Neal can't go. I think it's Tyree Phillips, get Hutch on him. Wherever Andrew Thomas isn't, Hutch, other side. If they have to move him around, fine. Get the matchup on the offensive line that we want. Because, like I say, he said Hutch is going to have a big game. I think he will be too. They can't block everyone. So, yeah, like I say, turnovers, that their receiving core does not scare me in the slightest. And it's not going to hurt us. I'll put good money in not hurting us. If it hurts us, I will have a meltdown and Lorraine will shower me and start cursing. If they start throwing the ball on us, I feel sorry for Bia. Those are the keys to victory. No penalties. Get the ball out quickly. As you mentioned, establish the run. Like I said, just mix up the backs, 2 back sets, multiple tight ends. Just mix it up. This game is very winnable. They are very fraudulent 7-2. It flatters them. That record really flatters them.
You've got to be aggressive against the run as well. I mean, that's what we did against Bears. We got 4 holding calls against Larry Borum. That wrecked their drives. If your D-line is aggressive and can draw those holding calls and take the run game away from them, put them behind the sticks so they can't run the ball, you have to be be equally as aggressive against them. And like I say, draw those fouls, because they have had lots of games where they've drawn 8, 9 penalties. You know, they are not averse. They are an indisciplined team when they want to be. So if you can keep drawing those fouls, getting those 10 yards back, then that makes it so much easier for you as a team.
So I think for me, keys to victory: stop Saquon Barkley. Like, make sure we're really disciplined, tight on run defense, and I think between Jerry Jacobs, Jeff Okudah, and Kirby, I think we're going to get two out of three of those players are going to get a pick this week. I think Daniel Jones is going to throw 2 picks. I think Okudah, my money, back-to-back picks this week. Their receivers are rubbish. I am worried about our run defense, but I think that this is a real chance for our defense to win a game with some like big turnovers. And I think, Okudah and maybe Jerry Jacobs, his first pick of the year. Can't wait.
So for me, what I'm looking for is to see at least 7 guys in the box at all times, and maybe 8. You cannot risk having your percentage of people with 8 in the box lower than first against this team. Daniel Jones or Saquon or Matt Breida, who actually had a good game last week, they're going to be running the ball. That's how they win. Do not let them win by running the ball. If Daniel Jones beats you with his arm because he has a freakishly good game out of absolutely nowhere, shrug your shoulders and say fair play. Like, didn't see that coming. You cannot let Saquon win this game, like Steve said. That's one of the massive, massive keys to victory for me. You know, all the stuff you guys said about establishing the run and whatever like that is fine. But if Saquon wins a time of possession, like Ant said, your game's done. The other thing is actually something that Ryan said, but I'm going to take the opposite view on it a little bit. In some form or fashion, I want Hutch against their right tackle, because that's great on passing downs. You got to get him into passing downs first. 3rd and 10, absolutely move Hutch to that left end to have a go at that right tackle. But he's the best O-lineman we have against the run right now. He should absolutely be on their left tackle, on Andrew Thomas, because Thomas versus Hutch, I'm giving Hutch a shot. If Thomas goes up against anyone else on a run play, I worry that Saquon will run over us. So I want Hutch over their left tackle on run downs and flip over on pass downs. I think that's the absolute biggest thing we can do to stop this run. Apart from stacking the box, but why not do both? We are coming to the end of the show. I don't know if you guys have some score predictions ready, but I'm going to come around and see what you guys think is going to happen. Steve, start us off, man.
Boys have talked me into a Lions win here. Like, I was very much thinking, like, Giants by 6.5, something like that. But I don't know. I've just got a feeling that we've got real hope in this, and I think for me this is a winnable game. Like, as Ryan said, there's a whiff of fraudulence about the Giants. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there is definitely something about them that makes me think they're not as good as their record. So I'm going to say 28-24 Lions.
Ryan?
I made my prediction today on LA News Post, 27-24. Now, I didn't mention Barkley because I don't think we can stop him. I think Saquon Barkley is going to destroy us. But I'm just going to overlook him and try win the game in other areas. So, yeah, I think he's going to run wild, but that don't mean we can't win, especially on offense if we can score heavy than them. So 27-24 Detroit.
And
28-17 Lions.
Oh,
I think this is going to be our Arizona game this year.
Ooh.
I think this team is very confident now, and a confident young Lions team is so much a different proposition to an out-of-form young Lions team. You cannot understate how much it means for a young side to have wins and belief under their belt. And the Giants have a lot of pressure on them. The more the weeks go by, the more the wins rack up. I know they say that it gets easier the longer it goes on, but it doesn't. It gets harder week by week. Philly have slipped up. you've suddenly got sight of the league. Suddenly your eye gets taken a little bit off the ball, and all of a sudden you've got this young team slugging and kicking and fighting and making you force you for absolutely everything. And you're like, I'm not ready for this. This would be one we could win to get over when we're better, but I think the Lions are going to be able to go there. I think we're going to be able to stuff the ball down their throat. And like I say, I like what I saw from the defense last week. It drew the holding calls. It stayed disciplined. You can do that against Saquon Barkley. They can't run him forever, and his usage will run out. And I think that this will be the week for it. I think this is a team banging confidence, and I think we'll upset them. And I think we'll upset a lot of people in the process.
You had exactly the same score prediction as Fly Odd Condor, and it came in at basically the same time, which I think is funny. Patman70 says 30-28 to the Lions. A few other guys throughout the stream have had other predictions. Smoking Jeremy B is in the chat. Follow him on YouTube if you haven't already. It's a great show. He says 27-20 Lions if they follow the game plan, and 24-20 to the Giants if they don't, which I think is absolutely fair cop. For myself, I am not buying this talk about the over-hitting. And I was on this last week and I was wrong. But I don't see any reason why I should deviate in this game. It's two attacks based primarily on run offense. And that restricts the amount of points you can score, in theory. I think these teams will stall out quite often on drives. I think there's going to be quite a lot of punts in this game. I think it's going to be a back and forth, black and blue style game. I think that drives, when they are successful, are going to be long and slow. I can see 15-play, 80-yard drives being order of the day when touchdowns come. And I'm going to follow my mantra. I can't pick a winner to this game. And so I'm going with the home team. And it sucks. But the Giants are 7-2. So I don't feel bad picking them for this game. They might win the NFC this year, and we've all said that. And then we're picking us to win this game. It's like, you know what? For me, the Lions need to stop being lucky and start actually winning these games. Like, winning these games. And until they do that, I feel uneasy picking the Lions. I'm going 16-14 to the Giants. I think we will cover 3 points. But I think it will be a gritty affair. Steve, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to raise one point that no one's raised yet. And we've not talked about the Lions' number one offensive weapon this week. And that is obviously Ryan McCluskey, who is being dispatched to New York. The New York sports crowd are notoriously loudmouthed and brash and gobby. Ryan, can you tell us what you've got in store in terms of when you hit? I think you're going to hit New York like crack in the 80s. I think you're going to make a seismic impact. Tell us what's going to be the chants, what's going to be the put downs, what are you going to bring to the table on those bleachers?
Well, everyone's going to look confused when I start calling a referee a wanker because they don't know what a referee is and they don't use the word wanker. So when the penalties, if they start flying, I'm going to start turning on the officials. I know if Kenny Galladay gets touches, I'm going to start booing him. I'm like, Kenny who? So Kenny who? Kenny not all day. I'm just gonna wind them up. I'm gonna and then if we win, I'm gonna call them NE York because we take the W. I've had that in my drafts on Twitter for about 6 months since I booked it. So we better win because I've already thought about the celebration tweet. But yeah, I might be insufferable because I'm sitting in the Lions half, so hopefully no one will hurt me.
Are there any Bradford City chants that you're going to maybe adapt and use against the New York crowd?
No, because a lot of them are quite offensive. I want to get alive. I want to make it out of this one there. Just going back to Matthew, I hope this isn't a punt game because I feel like Jack Fox has been a big shit since he got that deal. So I do worry in the bad conditions because the weather looks like it's going to be windy and fucking freezing as well. I'm sat like basically in the top block, so I've told Lorraine to wrap up because it's going to be like ice.
I got the perfect one for you, Ryan. You know, the football chant. He scores from the left. He scores from the right. Amon-Ra St. Brown will make you look shite. There we go. You can use that.
I'll do anything, like say, it doesn't bother me upsetting a few New Yorkers.
I just want to see a video. I want to see a video of you when there's a bad reffing call, just shouting "Gio." Just like always.
Well, I think it's probably time to close the show here. But Ryan, wish you the best, safe travels, a good game, however it goes for the Lions. Hopefully a Lions victory for you, and then hopefully we'll all be over for one in Detroit next year, which would be really cool.
Give them hell, Ryan. Give them hell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just don't get hurt. Come back in one piece. We need you. I don't think this show can survive without your rants. I feel like the guys in the chat are living for it. That's why they tune in every week. So,
Well, if it don't go well, then the week after will be fun.
that's what we live for. Guys in the chat, hang on a bit. We will still be staying live, but for you guys on the audio pod, here comes the outro. You can find us on Roar the Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The next show is the Giants Review on Monday. College Podcast aired yesterday. Talked about Week 12 in review and Week 13 coming up, as well as the people in line to make the college football playoffs and the people who are playing for the conference, the division finals and what have you. I don't know what I'm talking about, guys. Help me out here. What happened? I don't know. I was spouting rubbish.
Oh, well, that's good, because I need someone to help me on the show next week, so you're out of it now if you're calling them people in conference.
Oh, I'm sure I can do something, man. Anyway, college show, draft coming up. You need to listen to it. Ant and Ryan do a far better job than I do with that, so check it out. Otherwise, Facebook group for worldwide fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK One Pride Worldwide, and the website where Ash puts all of his preview articles is rurallionsuk.com, amongst us going to put other stuff in there as well, like analysis and draft previews and that sort of thing. So do subscribe to the mailing list on that. Otherwise, please do on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, rate us 5 stars on your podcast provider. Love you forever. Otherwise, my thanks to Ant and Ryan and Steve, and to our special guest Dan from Big Blue UK and Ireland. My name's Matthew Turner, and we'll see you on Sunday for the game where I'll be live streaming. For now, let's go Lions. One pride, and good luck, Ryan.
One pride.
Give them hell. Unleash hell.
I'm coming for you.
Fuck the salty bears still.
Recording stopped.
There we go.
Right, I've got to dash over to Mike's stream, so
Yeah,
I
do
promised him I'd go on and chat with him.
No, that's cool.
I'll see you all on Monday. And Ryan, you have a great week. And yeah, I need someone to do the college problem with me next week, so
I'm sure
decide between yourselves.
I'm sure that Sarah will let me go for a while.
I'll see you later.
All right. Cheers,
Good
man.
night, guys.
Take
Bye.
care. Have a good time, Ryan.
Cheers, Ryan.
You guys. Speak to you soon. Bye.
I will say now, Steve, I can't hang on the longest here tonight, just because my last day of work tomorrow, and it's carnival, and I'm staying around a friend's house and all that sort of stuff. It's going to be an interesting night tomorrow. So,
You want to have 2 minutes on the Thursday night football?
sure. We can do more than 2 minutes. What is it? Tennessee, Green Bay. Oh, the fun. All the fun.
Absolutely.
What do you make of it?
Like I said, we've got this kind of bet between us about I say that the Packers are still going to somehow make the playoffs, and I guess this is like a real acid test for them, because if they don't win this game tonight, then I may as well probably pay up the money. They've obviously won a couple of games. They beat a pretty average Cowboys team. I think that the Titans are just a massively fraudulent team. I don't believe in their record. I think they're in the shittest division in football. I think this is a winnable game for Green Bay. I was slightly, concerned, but annoyed that Christian Watson, who's been looking like a massive bust, actually had a good game and made a couple of really decent catches. Rodgers looked like he was playing a lot better. So I think that this is a very winnable game for Green Bay. I can see him, unfortunately, sneaking this. But I don't know what your thoughts are. If you've seen much Titans this season.
I've seen a fair bit of both teams. And what I can tell you is what I can tell you about the Giants, really. Henry, most rushing attempts in the NFL, second in yards, And I can tell you that the Green Bay defense is shit against the run. This is just a win for Tennessee, and I don't think it's close. Like, Green Bay are favored by 3, and I don't get it. It's like, Tennessee have a reasonable pass defense. They have a reasonable run defense. And they have a really good rushing attack. And Tannehill can operate out of play action, even with no receivers. I don't see how Green Bay is stopping Tennessee. I don't see it. And yeah, they had a resurgence for one game. But Green Bay are... Well, so I genuinely think that 8 and 9 is going to make it as the 7 seed in the NFC. So Green Bay actually have a bit more leash than I would like to admit. But they can't drop this game. Like, if they fall to 4 and 7, I think they're in big trouble. They're in run the table territory. And oh yeah, Green Bay were 4 and 6 in 2016, and they ran the table to get in at 10 and 6. Oh yeah, we've heard that before. That Green Bay team was fucking good, and this team is shit. Like, it's an awful Green Bay team compared to what we've seen in the past. And Aaron Jones is not quite at the races this year, and AJ Dillon is not quite as good as we thought he might be, and that O-line is underwhelming. That defense is not quite as good as it should be. It's all just not quite there for them. And yeah, one game was good. So what? When Derrick Henry has 3 or 4 rushing scores in this game, and they have 40 minutes time of possession, Rodgers will be crying into his soup on the sideline trying to stay warm. It's going to be a lovely sight for Lions fans, who I'm sure will be very excited at the prospect of Rodgers just being absolutely smashed in his own backyard.
Well, they're 4 and 6, and next week they've got the Eagles. So if they go 4 and 7, then that could easily be 4 and 8 the following week. After that, they've got the Bears and the Rams, which are 2 winnable games.
Well,
but
they
then they've got
should win both those games, really. Not just winnable, they should win them.
But then they've got the Dolphins and the Vikings back to back over Christmas and New Year.
And then we've got, that's us, the last game.
At Ford Field.
Yeah.
At Lambeau. No, at Lambeau.
Yeah, at Lambeau. But they might be 8 and 8, and we could put them out. Or they might be 7 and 9, and we could put them out. I relish it. Absolutely relish it. If it goes as it should go, as far as I see it, they'll lose to Tennessee and Philadelphia. They'll beat Chicago and the Rams, and then they'll need to reel off Miami, the Vikings, and Detroit to get in. I don't see it. I think they're done.
Beat the Titans. I think so. That'll be 4 and 6. So that'll be 5 and 6. I think they'll drop to the Eagles, 5 and 7. But then if they beat the Bears and the Rams, that's 7 and 7. And then if they can win 2 out of their last 3, I don't know. I don't know how. I can see the Dolphins torching them. I think, isn't Eric Stokes out for the season? I think as well.
Eric Stokes is gone. Yeah. I think needing 2 of 3, but having Vikings at home, Lions at home to finish is favourable. But the Vikings could need to win out from there to sew up the number 1 seed. Like, it could be a big game for both teams.
World where the Vikings are the number 1 seed in the NFC. Oh my God.
Hang on a minute. That's not as far-fetched as the fucking number 1 seed being the Giants. I mean, you say it's not going to happen, but it could absolutely happen.
The NFC East is just a Bermuda Triangle of for any pundit, isn't it? I mean, like, who would want to bet on any game in the NFC East?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, so the Giants, they're favoured against Detroit, so let's chalk that up as a win for them just for the sake of argument. At Dallas, divisional game, they dropped a game recently, not playing that well. Giants are scrappy and playing quite well. Dallas's run defense is shite. So the Giants actually have a favourable matchup against the Cowboys, despite the fact that Dallas is probably a better team overall. I think the Giants might win that game. Washington at home should win that game. Philly at home. Well, Philly haven't played many legit teams this year to go unbeaten. Now, I know I picked them to win the NFC, But who knows if this starts to slide? I pick Philly there if I have to right now, but I'm not. That's a toss-up right now, I think, for me. At Washington should win that game, but Washington have been good with Heineke. At Minnesota, difficult. Indy and then Philly. I mean, they just need to catch a little bit of fire, and they can win 5 of those last 7 or so. Like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that this is a 12-win Giants team, and it's just incredible.
Hard to say it and keep a straight face, but yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see. But yeah, I think tonight is going to be D-Day for the Packers, because I think a loss is just absolutely kills them.
It's devastating, yeah.
So yeah, I'm off work this week, so I'm going to be looking forward to watching that later.
It's going to be good. I can't watch it. I'll have to catch up with it at lunchtime tomorrow when I'm awaiting my final day, finishing and then going out with some beers and watching the carnival and that sort of thing. It's yeah, my mentor shook my hand today and he almost teared up and had to kind of fling me away, and I was like, oh man, I didn't think I was going to get emotional with this. It's been a very nice divorce, this. So tomorrow's going to be a rough day, mate. So, oh, sorry, your audio's gone there. Sorry, say again.
I said it'll be your last day if you can, and yeah, hopefully enjoy watching the Titans beat the Packers.
It's coming. It's a bad matchup for the Packers, but yeah, I'm gonna have to shoot, mate. So,
yep.
Hope you have a good week off. I'm very jealous. You've deserved it though for the amount of hours you've fucking worked. So, you know, enjoy Sunday. Maybe you'll come on with me for the live stream on Sunday. Who knows?
Sky Sports are showing the Eagles against the Colts as their live game early afternoon. What a shit game.
I mean, there have not been a lot of good choices in some of the slots this week. Is that the 1 o'clock slate or the 4? Oh,
5 p.m. UK.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Right. Thanks to everyone on the chat for all your contributions and helping us out with the guests. That was really appreciated. Dan says, best of luck, Matt. See you guys. Appreciate you, man. It's amazing how much you do and watching and listening to stuff. And Derek, thanks, Derek, for the tip yesterday. Our first ever tip on Streamlabs via Twitch, and that's much appreciated, because I think that comes to us whole rather than getting deducted by Twitch. So much appreciated, and to the guys in the YouTube chat, Grandizer, for helping us out and posting all that good stuff in there. Appreciate you, and Frog Crop and Det Fan Man, Giovanni Lyons, and all you guys that have been here through this. Really appreciate you guys. Yeah, just good luck on Sunday. Hope you guys enjoy it, and we will see. I'll be live streaming for it, so hopefully we'll see you there. But otherwise, see you Monday. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.